Hey guys, what's up? Mason here again with another beginner's tutorial in Sony Vegas. This time I'm going to be teaching you guys what keyframing is, how to do keyframing, the benefits of keyframing, and different keyframing speeds. Now, keyframing is just basically a way to change a value of an effect over time. So, if we start over here, we'll use this image today. Start over here, and let's say we want to turn this black and white over the time of 2 seconds. So we'll go to our video effects and we'll take black and white and we'll stick that on there. But you don't know how to make it black and white when and how to do that. So what I'm going to do is first, I want it to start out not black and white. I want it to start out with full color. So make sure that you're on the first keyframe. The keyframe is this little thing right here. It looks like a diamond. Make sure that that's at the starting point of your clip, so it's at the 00, and our blend amount is set at 0, so there's still all the color in our clip. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to scoot forward 2 seconds to right here, and now we're going to create another keyframe. So there's a few ways you can create a keyframe. First way would just be changing the amount. That'll create a new keyframe right here. Or you can press this button to delete a keyframe, and then press this button to insert a keyframe, and then change the value. It's really your choice. And what these are saying right here is let me open this up so you can see a little bit better. At this point, at the 00 point, this value right here, the blend amount is going to be at 0. And then this keyframe over here says, well, at 2 seconds, the blend amount is going to be at 1. So you can see now, if you watch the preview box, that as I move down here, it becomes more and more black and white until eventually at 2 seconds, it is completely black and white. So that's just a way to work with keyframes. If you started right here, it'll say it's not black and white at all. And then at 2 seconds, that keyframe will say it's completely black and white. And now once it's black and white, we don't have another keyframe after it, so it'll just stay black and white. Let's say 2 seconds later we want it to become colored again. So we are going to go to the 4 second mark, which is 2 seconds after 2 seconds. Change the blend amount back down to 0. So at 0 seconds, it says, okay, there's no black and white. Over the course of 2 seconds, it'll become 100% black and white. Then over the next 2 seconds, it'll go all the way back down. So you can watch the slider right here of the blend amount. See how it's at 0 right now? At 2 seconds, it's at 1, and then it goes back down to 0. So that's just a basic explanation of keyframing. When you keyframe things, it tells it to change the value over a certain amount of time. So I'll remove that. And what this can be used for is it can be used for things like flashes. So if I go to the brightness and contrast and drag very bright onto here, and I want it to start really bright, and then 10 frames later it'll go back down to not being bright at all. Once again, I'll make sure that at 0 seconds it's at the very bright, which is 0.25 brightness. Then at 10 frames right here, I'm going to change the brightness from 0.25 to 0, so it doesn't look any different. So you can see right here, it starts bright, and then it'll go down to being normal. So that's another way that keyframing can be used. Another cool thing they can do with keyframing is the reset to none preset. So if I drag a blur onto here, let's say I want it to start unblurred, then become blurred, and then go unblurred again. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's not blurred at all at second 0, but we'll worry about that in just a second. At 1 second, I want it to be blurred, and then at 2 seconds, I want it to be unblurred again. So I'm going to take this keyframe that has the blurred. See how this keyframe is blurred right here? 0.63 and 0.63. So we're going to take it and we're going to drag it over here to the 1 second mark. So we have a keyframe that has blur on it at 1 second. Now we're going to go back to 0 seconds. Click on this and press reset to none. Now what reset to none does is it resets the effect to the point where it doesn't have an effect on the clip. So the reset to none will look no different than if we didn't have the effect on the clip at all. So it'll turn, then at 1 second, it'll become blurred. Then 1 second later, we can go here and we can press reset to none once again. It'll create a keyframe, and there you go. It starts unblurred, goes blurred, and then it unblurs again. This is the basic definition of keyframing. Now we're going to go over some keyframing speeds. So, when you're doing starting keyframing, it just has what's called a linear keyframe. And what happens with a linear keyframe is it goes from 0 to 100 in a straight line. So what I'd be saying is if you went from 0% black and white to 100% black and white over the time of 100 frames, at frame 1 it would be at 1% black and white, at frame 2, and so on and so forth. At frame 50 it'll be at 50% black and white. But that doesn't always look natural. Things in nature don't occur in a straight line. You don't see branches on trees in straight lines. You don't see the sun get brighter in a straight line. It starts getting brighter a little bit, then it gets really bright, and then it goes back down. Nothing happens in a straight linear line. So in order to make it look more natural, we'll use different keyframing speeds. So for example, if I use the smooth keyframe, it'll start going up, and then when it gets to the top, it'll smooth it out. So it won't go straight 89, 90, 91, 92. It'll take a curved path, so it'll kind of ease itself into the effect. So it doesn't go from 0 to 100, then stop. It'll ease itself into the effect. So the way to change the keyframing speed, I'll go right here, right click, and I'll change this to smooth. So now you can see it smooths out the effect right here. It goes a little bit slower when it reaches the top. If I change it back to linear, it just goes straight and then straight back down. It kind of reaches its peak right here and then shoots straight back down, which looks kind of harsh and unnatural. So using different keyframing speeds can give you different results. There's all types from here. There's fast, which means that it'll start going really fast in the keyframe, then it'll slow down right at the very last second. We have slow, which will slow down a lot as it comes into the keyframe. Smooth, which will give you kind of a smooth, natural look. Sharp, which will make it accentuatingly sharp, so it'll look, really unnatural. And then hold will just hold that value until the next keyframe. So if I turn on hold, it'll go right here, boom, and it'll hold this until the next keyframe, and it'll instantly become unblurred. And that's okay for some things, but I wouldn't recommend using that one very much. My favorite are linear and smooth, and you can just, if something doesn't feel right, play around with the keyframing speeds. Get it at a different rate, some different things, try out some different strategies when you're keyframing. Once again, this is Mason. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Universal Effects. Make sure to comment, make sure to like it, and like this video and favorite it. I'll see you guys next time.